Hello dear friends, greetings to you. Today we are going to learn an important topic in computer networks. Okay, OSI model is one of the important topic in computer network. In that you know that there are 7 layers. First one is physical, data link layer, network layer, then transport layer, session layer, presentation layer and application layer. So this is the structure and sequence of OSI model, in which transport layer is one of the important, which is called as heart of the OSI model, because this is the middlemost layer in your OSI model. Okay, now what does transport layer do? What is the purpose and what is the working of transport layer? If you consider transport layer, it works on the rules given by the protocols. Protocol means there are certain rules followed for network communication in data transmission. Now, TCP is one of the important protocol in transport layer. TCP is transmission control protocol. Now, what is TCP? It is a connection oriented protocol. What happens in this protocol is it focuses on the connection. Okay, now as it focuses on the connection establishment is the important part. Okay, so we will see the connection establishment in transport layer. To make the transport services reliable, TCP host must establish a connection oriented session with one another. Connection establishment is performed by using a three-way handshake mechanism. The mechanism which is followed for establishing the connection is called as three-way handshake mechanism. A three-way handshake synchronizes both ends of a network by enabling both sides to agree upon the original sequence numbers. What does it do? By enabling both sides to agree upon original sequence number, it synchronizes both ends, that is the sender and receiver, by following the three-way handshake. This mechanism also provides that both sides are ready to transmit data and learn that the other side is available to communicate. This is essential so that packets are not shared or retransmitted during session establishment or after session termination. This is the important part in transport layer. Packets are not shared or retransmitted during the session establishment, because this protocol focuses on the connection establishment. Each host randomly selects a sequence number used to track bytes within the stream it is sending and receiving. Okay. Now, what is TCP connection? That is a three-way handshake. What is meant by handshake? It refers to the process to establish connection between the client and server. Simply, we know that what is the scenario of handshake. So, to establish the connection, it is termed as handshake method. It is simply defined as the process to establish a communication link. To transmit a packet, TCP needs a three-way handshake before it starts sending the data. Okay, the reliable communication TCP is termed as PAR, that is positive acknowledgement retransmission. As you know that in computer network, acknowledgement is the very much important scenario on which the retransmission happens from the sender, considering the timeout scenario. When a sender sends the data to the receiver, it requires a positive acknowledgement from the receiver confirming the arrival of data. As I said, acknowledgement is very much important, which is given by receiver, which confirms the sender that there is no need of retransmission. If the acknowledgement has not reached the sender, it needs to resend that data, considering the timeout. The positive acknowledgement from the receiver establishes a successful communication. When the acknowledgement is given, that too which is positive, then only we can say that a successful connection is established. Now, we can see that there is one client and server given here. The server is the server and client which is trying to establish a connection between the client and server. A three-way handshake is commonly known as sync and ACK and requires both the client and server response to exchange data. Now, what is important in three-way handshake is the consent given by both client and server. How we can say that the consent is given? When client sends the data to server, server receives the data. Once received, it accepts it. It accepts once it has accepted, it gives the acknowledgement. Then we can say that the requested data from client is reached to server. Once reached, it has accepted and then it has given the acknowledgement. SYN means synchronized sequence number and ACK means acknowledgement. So you can see that the client first sends the synchronization request, then server receives it. In next step, server sends the synchronization is accepted along with the acknowledgement. Then client receives the synchronization plus acknowledgement. After it is received by client, client sends again the acknowledgement which will be received by server. In this scenario, you can see that there are two acknowledgement terms given by both receiver and sender. That is why it is important to get the consent from both client and server. Each step is a type of handshake between the sender and receiver. That is why it is termed as the three-way handshake mechanism, which is helpful for establishing the connection in transport layer. Thank you.